Thanks for joining Lipstick Radio this afternoon / this morning, wherever you are on the coast, left coast, right coast, wherever you are, you're where you're needed the most. It's your girl Melina Lawrence hanging out with our girl Angela Artist. Yo, Angie.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
I'm here. Hi.
Yay. Kimberly Carlisle behind the scenes setting things up with our guest today. This is Angela Reddock. She's going to be introducing a conversation that is heated on Essence at Essence Debates. Angela Reddock is a workplace guru and / attorney. She's going to be joining us momentarily after the Essence Debates takes place. We're going to have her come and join us right now. I just want to go through the feed, Angela. I know you've been factoring in a lot of tweets and responding and pumping this thread up all weekend. So let's go hit it. Let's go see what Essence Debates has to say actually about hair at work. Angela, before I read the thread, is there anything that stands out to you in this whole conversation?
Me?
Yeah, you, girl.
You know, there's two Angelas, so I get confused a little bit.
Oh my God.
You know, yeah. One of the biggest things that I'm looking at is that a lot of people made a personal choice to go natural, which is a beautiful thing. And you know, you wonder sometimes what dictates professionalism at work. And I think it's up to the employer and whatever their policies are as to what constitutes okay natural hair. Because I've been in some places of business where, you know, the styling of it could have been more professional opposed to the fact that it's natural. The natural part of it, it's awesome for me or to me, you know, as a client coming in. But the styling of it, sometimes it may be a little bit much for what you're looking at in the place where you're working.
And you know what? I think that's, and this is Angela Artist, y'all. Joining us later will be Angela Reddock, Esquire. and also in that, to your point, Angie, for the workplace, we're also having a guest join us out of New York, Tiffany Crawford, and she actually she's an entrepreneur and works in corporate America. She's a female engineer and techie. I'll give her a proper introduction when she joins us, but more importantly, I've watched her hair go through so many different phases as a Black woman in corporate America, as a consultant, and as an entrepreneur / artist as well. So I'll be interested to hear what all these women have to say once they join the conversation. Right now, and again, they're behind the scenes joining and taking place within the Essence Debates. And right now, I just want to read you how Essence started off. So at Essence Debates on Twitter, they basically started off after greeting the co-host, which is Angela Reddock, as well as Afro Bella. And Afro Bella is known as Patrice. She's a beauty blogger, but Patrice Grell-Yersick and beauty blogger. Just check her out on Twitter. You guys join this conversation as soon as you can because it's awesome. And it's just an important conversation that we as Black women grapple with. Our hair, our appearance, beauty. And I'm going to take this back to what I said first, which is what Essence is asking at Essence Debates about hair at work. One of the questions that's posed in the conversation has, you know, kicked off with is why, and I'm trying to scroll back as the feed refreshes, but I'm gonna just take it. Is it where's the question?
You're like, it's lost. Everyone's
it's
going
lost
so
in the
fast.
food, girl. It's going crazy on Twitter. At Essence Debates, hashtag lunchtime debate is lunchtime on the East Coast, breakfast on the West, and we just going to start this off. Okay, on a lighter note.
I do have a question. I can jump in.
Oh, sure.
While you no problem. While you find the other one. Yeah, absolutely. But they just posed one that said, question for anyone, including our guests, what is well-groomed and who defines it? And again, that kind of goes back to, you know, the company in which you work. I mean, if like I've worked with dogs, they didn't really care what my hair looked like, you know, what my hair looked like or what style it was in. But then working for a corporation, I had to clean it up. We had board meetings. We had you know, other things. So not that I ever tried to rock the full curls because my hair is curly hair. But I would more than likely slick it back just because, like they said in the article, we eliminate that as a distraction for anyone. You know, you're not focused on my hair and And that is something that I have done, you know, over
And that just
time.
and that brings to the introduction question, because the article, the Essence article in the January issue with Jennifer Hudson on the front, that would be helpful information for you guys who want to actually pick up the magazine and read the article for yourself that Angie is referencing,
Right.
the great hair dilemma, as the original article. And then within the great hair dilemma, they're posing this question, is your hair holding you back? And to your point, of Angela, working with dogs is beautiful. They're worried about your scent and your energy. Like,
Exactly.
you know what I'm saying? It's like, I know her. I smell her. Right? And then we have the workplace.
Yeah.
And some people said online, it's like, I made the decision to wear my hair natural. And
Mhm.
other women in the workplaces said that actually, you guys, I'm gonna be real. Following this feed and keeping up with you is awesome. But I am on a Twitter marathon at Essence Debates following the conversation, because it's important. So I'm gonna just plug and play and shout you out later at Essence Debates and all the women in the workplace tweeting right now. But some of the women's concerns, just clumped up real quick, is that they face some of this. Let's just say, for the lack of better words, the haterade or the judgment,
Mhm.
on their hair and how they wear their hair from other women, other black women, and then the white women love their hair. And I know for me in the workplace, my corporate experience in working in corporate America is very minute. I work in a
Mhm.
lot of nonprofit sectors, creative sectors, political sectors, and it does have some give and take and some balance where I make a choice to present myself differently. But within that interpretation of how I feel in my hair and fashion, you do face some things. And some people say, the white women are like, can I touch your hair? Oh, your
Right.
hair is beautiful today.
Well, when that was in the interview I did,
Uh-huh.
I kind of blended. It didn't make the magazine, but I kind of.
Angela Reddock, the lawyer, the workplace guru, is joining us later. Across the room, Angela, she just said, oh my, she mentioned that it's not in the article, but she did mention that during the interview with Essence, how, sometimes white people are fascinated with their hair and want to touch it, and they don't see it. But the other extreme is working in corporate America, and this has been stated from an HR perspective. People share and say, they may not hire you because the look doesn't fit. We don't like her look, or the look
Right.
doesn't fit the company. There's different phases and phrases that employers look at and go through before they hire you. So I mean, I don't know what your other experiences have been, Angela, but do you get any haterade or judgment from other women because you have long hair, because you have curly hair?
I
What?
do. It's a lot sometimes, but you have to look at other people, and you have to say that some people just aren't comfortable in their own skin.
Hmm.
And when the what quote unquote, for lack of a better word, like you said, the haters, it's fine.
Right,
it
right.
Hey, it's fine. You rock it how you rock it, and if they're not comfortable with their hair texture or their hair experience or their hair styling techniques or not, then I'm very experimental with my hair. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I'll wear it crazy, sometimes I'll wear it tame, sometimes
Right.
like what was her name? I was looking at it over on the thing. Corporate Moxie
Mm-hmm.
stated on the Essence debate, whether you wear your hair relaxed or natural, you have
Right.
to be well groomed for work. It
Right.
doesn't really matter.
Right.
And
Show up
yeah,
and present yourself.
exactly. You know what your
Mm-hmm.
policies are. You know what is acceptable and what's not acceptable. And if you don't, then you probably might want to read that before you actually apply, and not let it be a surprise, or
Right.
take that time as a grown up and ask somebody, is it okay if I do this or if I do that? And it's just the times that we're in. It's not, you just, everybody's going natural now. Everybody's going back to their, what I quote unquote roots, or, that whole natural thing. Everybody's taking the processes out. But whether you have a perm or you don't have a perm, you are free to express yourself, but you have to know where your boundaries are within your workplace.
Right. Do
That's
you
the
want a
biggest
job, or
thing.
do you want to go in business for yourself, or
Exactly.
it is you're entering a contract when you're working with someone, and the respect should go on both sides. You do have
Exactly.
rights. You have rights as a worker, you have
Correct.
rights as a human being, you have your human rights, you have your civil rights, and
Yep.
some of those things Angela Reddock will talk about. As Angela and I discussed just now, what Essence has posed in the debate has at Essence Debates says basically what we're just talking about. Has anyone who wears natural hair, hashtag at work, had negative reactions from colleagues? And employ what Angela says, Angela Reddock, uh, at the corporate moxie that you just mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
Angela, is that employers have a right to set grooming policies and practices, and
Correct.
policies cannot be discriminatory.
Right.
So I think, we got retweets on that as well at Essence Debates. And Afro Bella, I want to chime into her and a couple of you guys that have been joining the conversation on at Essence Debates. We want to thank you over here at Lipstick Radio, and on behalf of our beautiful guest today. She says, Afrobella says, thanks for commenting, and I'm happy to hear that. I wish everyone else felt the same. And this conversation thread started about this conversation started from at Tiffany Crawford. The people with the biggest issue, in my experience, were Black women. And I just think, Angela, that we really have a lot of work to do within ourselves as Black women, whether it stems from that a slavery mentality, a self-love
Right.
mentality, a self-worth mentality, that we definitely have to connect and be more upfront when it comes to how we express our feelings to each other, and really respect and love one another, because that's all judgment from the outside in. What's your thoughts on that?
It is, and I think that too, we have to be more comfortable within our own selves to not let
Mm-hmm.
things like that bother us. You have to be able to brush it off
Mm-hmm.
and continue on with your work experience without allowing somebody else to quote unquote hate or to um, what is it, transfer the energy that they have regarding what you're expressing on you for the,
Yeah.
that shouldn't be a barrier for you in your workplace. It shouldn't even be a hindrance for you in your workplace. But it really depends on how you really see yourself,
Mm-hmm.
how true to yourself you're being, or if you're trying to make a statement opposed to being
Yeah.
true to yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, especially the artistic women in the world. I feel like we
Right.
all have our inner artists, but a lot of,
Yes.
like, I'm very eccentric, but I'm political, I'm social, I'm entertainment. You know what I'm saying? It's just
Right.
so many facets, so many pieces, as Lettucey says at
Right.
Lettucey, pieces of me.
Right.
Everybody has so many different pieces and parts, and I think something that I would like to ask Angela Reddick when she comes on, and everybody joining as well, is, how the workplace, the culture of corporate America has shifted, because, we're entering a new dimension. You don't really have to work within the confinement of walls. You can be at home, or you can come into work. Just the whole culture of working has changed, and social media has changed the whole climate. But
And
things
I
that,
think and I think that it has progressed, to be
yes,
honest with you,
yes,
because
I do too.
I was somewhere the other day, and
Hmm.
outside of the hair thing, I remember when tattoos were taboo, like you couldn't have a tattoo showing,
Yeah,
and this person was tatted up. I mean, on the neck, on the arms,
yeah.
short sleeve shirt, but it was a professional
Weird.
environment,
Okay.
and
Hey, hey, Angela,
uh-huh.
stand by. We're
Okay.
going to bring in our guest for the day, who was an awesome co-host on joining at Essence Debates, Miss Angela Reddock, Esquire, and we want to thank everybody for participating. At Tiffany Chanel Crawford's going to be joining us as well. Right now, we want to bring in who's on standby, Miss Angela Reddock, to join this conversation. Um, is your hair holding you back
Hi, Miss Melina. How are
at work?
you?
Hey, I had to finish that. Like, is your hair holding
I
you
see
back
you've
at
already
work?
started a great debate today. So a great conversation around this debate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here logged on my computer, responding to some of the great questions from Essence readers and
Mm-hmm.
debaters. And it just kind of, and Afrobella, she's keeping the discussion alive. Shout
Awesome.
out to Afrobella. Um, so let's see, one of the, well, I know you
Well,
were
Angela,
talking
let
about,
me
do
let
you
me
have a
ask you
question you
this,
want to
because
share?
as we go into this whole conversation, one of the people in the feed, at Meow Shtanash, I may mispronounce the name, but he's like, I'm not an expert, and this is a man. I'm not an expert, but FYI, the idea of natural hair is inappropriate would never occur to me, and that's the flip side. Okay, and that's the flip side. Excuse me, everyone. The flip side of it is that some people don't even fathom the fact that as Black women, we go through this issue of
Right.
having to be accepted,
Right.
protected in the workplace, and just being ourselves.
Right. And
Groomed.
literally having to make a decision.
Yes.
Someone just texted me and they said they went on 2 job interviews with their natural hair, with natural twists, and braids, and they landed the job in both instances. And I think that's absolutely awesome. But as you said, it's really about the fact that we even have to have that conversation, we have to make that conscious decision. The reason this topic is interesting to me, not just because I'm a workplace lawyer, but as a Black woman myself, I deal with this issue, and I personally, don't get it wrong, on any one day or week, I will go from a week to a term to just giving my hair a break and wearing it in a ponytail for a few days to rocking cornrows or rocking twists, or some type of natural hairstyle. But when I make those choices, I'm making a conscious decision about what I have to do that week. Am I meeting with clients? Will I be in a traditional corporate environment? Or will I be able to work from home and not have to engage with clients or in a corporate environment? And so it's the fact that we have to have this discussion, have to think about what perceptions might be that if we wear our hair in a certain way. And I'm happy to see that things have come a long way in the 21st century.
And we were actually,
we're not having to make those decisions as
Angela,
choices are being accepted.
oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, Angela Reddock. I'm going to go to Angela Artist, and before that, you guys, I'm going to make a distinction. We have on the line on our guest today, co-host at Essence Debates is at Angela Reddock on Twitter. She's joining us. She's a workplace lawyer, hashtag workplace guru, and she's joining us to continue this conversation on, is your hair holding you back at work? Angela, she mentioned a couple of things we were actually talking about before she came on.
Right.
The progress that has been made in the work environment here in America, the progress in the workplace itself, appearances and grooming that you were speaking of as well. What's your say on that?
Yeah, I was just going to chime in on what she said, and definitely it is about what you have to do. Like, that's how a lot of people, I think, gauge how they wear their hair to work. And, you know, whether you have an appointment or you have a meeting or you have a board meeting or I guess Angela would be in court that day, or, you know, you dictate how you style. I think I'm stuck on style a little bit.
Yeah.
Because even with natural hair or permed hair or weaved hair or wig hair, it really does matter what you're doing and how you're doing it, and what your position is in your firm or corporation or business as to what you can and won't do.
Well, do you guys, it makes sense. Do you guys think that, I'm going to go to Angela Reddock on this, do you guys think that that natural hair is an intimidation for corporate America or the white male or Black women in general who are in higher positions that have to interact with women who maybe not on the same, title line as the other, but they're equal in the workplace, but their titles may be different. So is natural hair an intimidation factor?
I'm not sure if it's, are you at me?
Yes, I am at Angela.
I'm not sure if it's intimidating as much as it is just unfamiliarity and just a sense of, particularly if you're a woman like me, who I said on any week I may go from a week to hormones, there's confusion as to, well, what's going on with your hair? what did you do to your hair? So I think it may just create confusion and a level of misunderstanding in many cases. But as you said, Melina, more often than not, I've seen Caucasians and white Americans say, "Oh my God, I love your hair. It's so cool. Let me touch it." So I think some of the
Don't put your hands in my hair.
Right. Some of the perceptions we have about natural hair as Black women are, socialized, and we have learned or become a part of our psyche growing up about what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, what's perceived as better in a larger society, and we've carried those perceptions with us into the workplace. Now, certainly, with anybody, whether you're Black, white, any race or ethnicity, if you come into the workplace, particularly if you work in a traditional corporate environment, or you work in a restaurant, or you work somewhere where your appearance is important, whether you wear your hair natural or whether you wear your hair in a style that may not be seen as professional, the employer is likely to have concerns about it. The same with tattoos, the same with how we dress. This issue carries over into so many areas of workplace issues about general grooming standards. And so, going back to your question, I don't think it's necessarily, it could be intimidation in some environments, but I think it's really just a part of this larger cultural question and issue of folks just not understanding each other, not quite understanding what's going on when you walk in and your hair is a way that's not mainstream.
How about you, Angela? Angela Artis.
One of the things that I was thinking about when I was researching this and reading the article, I know that we're talking about natural hair, but then you look at other nationalities and they also have natural ways about wearing their hair. And if we're going to use it as self-expression, then does that mean that someone can wear their hair longer than they're supposed to because that's what they feel like they want to do? Like men, they could wear their hair long. Caucasian men could wear their hair in mullets if they chose. Do you know what I mean? It kind of it really becomes a situation where, yes, we're talking about natural hair, Black women's hair, Black ethnic hair, but then you can go back to Caucasian or any other nationality who decides that they want to find a root or just want to wear their hair in another kind of way, or even wear the colors in their hair now because that's trendy. Well, but is that okay?
Well, I think it's okay based on the workplace. And Angela, you can discuss, what's accepted in the workplace and what that responsibility factor looks like and is legally and things like that. But I want to back up because when I started working in corporate America, I was looking at venture capitalists, ad agency, all these things. And I started off in San Francisco at that time. Now, California is a different place anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? East Coast to West Coast, conservative versus liberal, creative versus stealth. I mean, it's just different, and it's a hodgepodge of many mixes. But I was forewarned by my grandmother when moving to California to, straighten my hair, pull it back, wear it neat, all these things. And I beg to differ. I never did it. And I wear hair wraps if I want to, if I feel like it. So when I was hired at a venture capital firm, and I was there for a little while. I walked in, I was told my job duties, managed the front office, blah, blah, blah. The owner walks in, the boss. This cat, I'm going to say this cat had purple and green hair. I'm in San Francisco. I was blown away, but immediately I felt good. I felt good because I had natural hair and I was intimidated because I was questioning what should I do even though I was doing what I wanted to do, wearing my hair the way I needed to and wanted to. Right. He looked at me, I looked at him, we had a common vibe and it was cool. So I feel you, tattoos, natural hair, and anything. So what about men's value and perception of women, Black women and their natural hair in the workplace? What do they think? I want to bring in Eric Brazy on that. E-Breeze.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Welcome to the show. We're talking about is your hair holding you back in the workplace? We have our special guest, Miss Angela Reddock, and she's a
Ms. Reddock,
lawyer.
it's a pleasure meeting you. One of the things that I've been observing, also watching the debates, is that, especially from women to women, it seems like there's more of that standard being held as to what the appearance, what the look, what the overall grooming aspect is, and there's more conflict on that end. I think from a male perspective, I don't think there is that much of an issue, because I think in terms of how men perceive an overall appearance is going to just be based on, does it meet the overall corporate or the work environment, and that's it. In a public agency, government agency, you'll see a variety. In a lot of the new startups, you'll see a tremendous variety, especially because we have a number of programmers that are from different countries.
You said programmers?
I'm sorry?
Did you say programmers?
Yes, when we're talking about developers and engineers, from different countries, you see a variety of foods, variety of dress, a variety of styles. But I think when you get into more of a conservative environment, you are starting to look up as to what the directors, the vice presidents, your manager, what are they wearing, and whether that's appropriate or not.
If you don't mind, can you share your professional background?
Sure. I work in IT, information technology. And in that environment, you see a lot of, a lot of people who come in, not only just the young, but also people from different countries. And there's a lot more interaction, I think, across boundaries. Just as much as we're talking here on Google Plus, and video chatting, we do this in the work environment as well. So there's not so much of a restriction in terms of our communication, and likewise, there's not that much of a restriction in terms of what your overall look and appearance is.
So,
but I think
on that note, I'll cut in real quick.
Sure.
We do have. I want to read a comment because it's interesting, and I'm so grateful we have a male perspective in this conversation with our special guest, Angela Reddock, a lawyer, guru in the workplace, Angela Artist, who is a writer, fabulous host here on Lipstick Radio, and then joining us out in the field on the East Coast in Atlanta and everywhere, we have Sawanda Middleton Spinks, Born to Blossom, and we also have Tiffany Crawford out there too, and she's in the IT world. But Sawanda was saying, I'm trying to swipe this screen, you guys, about women in the workplace. I'm going to just read what Sawanda is sharing with us in the chat room. Unfortunately, the intimidation comes from other black women. Sigh. We have become so conformed to what we think white people are looking for. It is us that holds each other back from promotions, etc. in the workplace. And the key word, holding back promotions, each other, and what we think. Angela Reddock, and then I want to go to Angela Artist, and then Breeze. Eric, I want to come to you about, what that progression looks like from a man outside looking in, if you've ever confronted that type of vibe or entered a room where that was happening, like the confrontation of corporate America. So Angela, can you share some policy information on this and how we hold each other back in the workplace because of our hair and appearance?
All right, thanks, Melina. As you know, I'm on the Essence Debates Twitter chat about natural hair in the workplace, and I'd like to first just acknowledge some of our Twitter debaters. We have Maria Boss One. Nice to see you out in Twitter world. Of course, Afrobella, who is presenting the counterpoint today. Gosh, we've got a number of people here. Camille Robbins-Reed at Mirror Boss, who I just mentioned you, and so many others. So thank you for joining us today. So at the crux of this is, what are employers able to do legally? And we all know that the law, both federal and state law, says that employers cannot discriminate against individuals based on their race, their ethnicity, their gender, and several other factors. So how does hair play into this? To the extent an employer if you're wearing your hair in a way that is unique to who you are, as a Black person, a Hispanic person, an Indian person, whatever your race or gender is, to the extent an employer makes a decision related to your employment, whether that be hiring, promotional decisions, firing decisions, and any other decisions, specifically because of how you wear your hair, and you cannot, and that's unique to who you are biologically, then that decision would be discriminatory. Where the rubber meets the road is how the employers balance anti-discrimination policies against their grooming standards. And we know that there is a range in terms of what's proper grooming and what's not proper grooming. So, Melina, I'm looking at your hair, which is fabulous, by the way.
Thank you.
As you say, you work in creative environments mostly, but I could see if you were to go in a traditional law firm or accounting environment or bank, somewhere that's considered kind of, corporate, white collar corporate red, then some questions might be raised as to whether that fits within the grooming standards. And I can see you making an argument, well, this is my natural hair, this is how it forms, this is how I choose, I'm unique, this is how I choose to wear it. And that's ultimately where the rubber meets the road as to whether that is accepted. And I would say, you would have a good argument that the hairstyle you're wearing is who you are as a Black woman. But then they may ultimately decide they can't do anything because of the anti-discrimination policy. But then the question becomes, is it held against you in some way when you go for that promotion, when you're sitting with that client? Do you win or lose the client because of how you're wearing your hair? And that's where, and it's not an easy question to answer, it's a case-by-case question, but at the core of it is, no, an employer cannot discriminate against you based on your race or gender or ethnicity. And then the question of how we wear our hair becomes a question of whether our hair is somehow related to our race or our ethnicity.
And I know that, thanks Angela Reddock, workplace guru joining us here on Lipstick Radio. Another thing is, I'm going to go to Angela, but as we discuss that conflict of interest at times in the personal choice of showing up at work and how you're wearing your hair natural, we do have a male joining this conversation. So Eric, I'd like for you to think about something else I'm pondering in my mind is when brothers wear locks or twists or braids. But before I get to you, Eric, Angela Artist, and I know we have Tiffany Crawford hanging out with us as well as Sawanda Middleton Spink. So Angela Artist, let me hear from you really quick.
I think for me personally, I know that the initial question was walking into a room and whether or not you have had a certain kind of feeling about it. And for me, I think I've always been comfortable in my own skin. And however, I am not a rule breaker when it comes to, or rule challenger when it comes to what someone's policies are. I work for them, therefore I conform to what it is their policies are without, causing friction with that. And that's just me. Everybody may not do that, but I challenge in other places, so the battle becomes something else. Me and my hair and my choice of clothes, it conforms to where I work. I know that when I was in corporate America, the one thing that was the bigger thing for me was the colors. I'm a color person. So clothes-wise, I was bright colors at board meetings. I wasn't black and blue and brown. I was red and royal. Right, it has. But back in the 90s, it was like, wow, whoa, who's the, whoa. But as far as my hair goes, I have always had natural hair. I used to do perms all the time, but it was still in a style. I go back to the style again. It was still in the style that conformed to what the organization that I worked for required.
So, go ahead.
Oh, that was it.
And Eric, how about you?
I've known people who, when they first come in, when they first interview, they would have their natural hair. Speaking from a male perspective, men would come in with natural hair, clean shaven, just so that they have almost that vanilla appearance. But once they're in, then you can see, okay, well, I can see what the environment is like, and then I can start wearing the twists, or wear a beard, or just to see how far I can go in terms of either wearing tats or having my earring displayed or whatever. But when you're first trying to make that initial appearance, you're always going to be wondering, what am I being judged on? What is this company looking for? I'm trying to present, my best in terms of their perspective, but also in terms of what I assume their perspective is of what my appearance is. I know for women, I've heard a number of times where women have cut their hair or have permed their hair, wondered at whether they should do anything to their hair because they are concerned about that. And it's the same with men. I think as soon as you come in, I mean, we're probably judged to a lesser standard in terms of our appearance, but we still have to look at, okay, what are those factors that are holding us back? We already know that the skin color may be one, but is it our hair that also is something that's different? And just as Angie was saying, is that, okay, if I don't come in the black, the blue, the brown, will they consider me less than an adequate candidate for that position?
Yeah. I'm curious, Eric, what, as a black man, when you see a black woman with her hair, wearing her hair natural, whatever style that she's rocking, what do you think as a black man? What's your perception of her as a woman or a girl? What's your perception of a woman rocking her hair natural?
It's confidence. If they are able to be as individual and as confident as they are in their appearance, more power to them. I think that you see so many people try to conform that, to whatever standards that is being expressed by their company, that sometimes you don't see that diversity. As I mentioned before, I'm in IT, so you see a tremendous diversity of people. But still, what you want to, appreciate in people now, and you see it more often now, especially in IT, is that people will wear different clothing, will eat different foods, and they will dress and have their hair differently. For black women, I think it just is another expression of themselves in terms of saying, yes, I know the environment that I'm working in, but this is who I am, this is what I wear, and this is how I express myself on a day-by-day basis. I'm not trying to, stand out or try to be any different. I'm just expressing who I am. I don't see it as that difference. But I'm a black man. I don't see how somebody who's not familiar with our culture might see it differently.
Right.
I have a question for our workplace guru, Miss Angela Reddock. So do you feel like, or do you think that someone who comes into a workplace with one look, like they, let's say they've been there for a few years, they've styled themselves appropriately, and all of a sudden they decide to jump outside of what the box was that they came in, and then feel like they're being discriminated against because now they decide to go full on. Let's say they do Melina's hair, and they're used to doing what mine looks like right now, and for where they were, it may be jarring for them. Would they really have a case towards discrimination if all of a sudden people, how does that work in the workplace if I decide I want a crew cut? I mean, that could be major for somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where does the discrimination start and stop at? Where do the policies start and stop at?
So it's kind of like Angela Reddock from Angela Art. This is kind of flip mode, going from curls, beautiful straight hair, curls, still natural state, to what you have here, afro to locks to anything.
Yeah, let's say I decide to go Angela Davis, and my hair is like out to here because it's really long. So instead of, and this is how I wear my hair normally, it's slick back. So it's as conservative as it gets. So I'm going to go Angela Davis at work. But should I be entitled to do that because that's still my natural hair? Or, what would be my
Angela?
So ultimately, whether it's at the beginning of your employment, in the middle, or at the end, it boils down to whether your employer is making any decisions based on discriminatory practices, such as based on your race, your ethnicity, your gender, or any other factor. So if you change your hair midstream, and everyone does, not just black women, people, especially if you work in an environment for a long period of time, You may have several different hairstyles. The question becomes, at the point you change your hairstyle, is there an adverse decision, like suddenly you get a demotion, or suddenly your boss is not talking to you anymore or retaliating against you in any way? Is that based on you're wearing a style that is unique to who you are, based on your racial and ethnic identity? So that's the legal side of it. But the other part of this debate is about the perceptions associated with it. And that's something that the law doesn't necessarily address if it's not blatant and in your face. And it becomes a question of, if you feel like suddenly your growth in your work environment has been stunted because of how you wear your hair, to the gentleman because you went from wearing a nice look, or I apologize for using that word nice, you went from wearing a low cut to twists or dreads or what have you. Have the perceptions about you changed? And then can you tie those perceptions to racial or discriminatory behavior? And that's where the discussion really lies. And those are harder questions to answer.
And then
And
we
I
were
follow
half
up
chiming
with,
in. Sawanda from Born to Blossom, she also helps people, develop their goals before re-entering the workplace in the workforce. And to your response, Angela Artis and Angela Reddock both, Sawanda is saying, you guys, I'm swiping. We are multimedia over here, and I'm going to swipe you in, Sawanda. My dear sister says, that's what I was told before leaving college, to conform first. It's a good point. Wear the perm or straighten hair. Oh, Eric, this is also complimenting your statement. Then when I get the job, then I can wear my hair kinky. That's what my black woman mentor told me. I ignored her and wore my kinky hair anyway. Ha 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 ha. And I have, Sawanda continues to say and share, and I have gotten every corporate job I interviewed for. Yep, it's confidence, as Eric says. And that's what they were sharing too on the, thank you, Sawanda. They were sharing on the Twitter feed. A lot of women kept saying it's about the confidence, and a lot of the extra stuff, just it seems like it comes with the territory. Tiffany is also joining us as well. But I will ask everyone, does this perception and this attitude and this mentality just come with the territory and we should accept it and just keep on moving? Do you? Or do we address it? We're addressing the issue now, but how do we literally, I'm going to go to you, Angela Reddock, how do we first address this type of issue and dilemma in the workplace of wearing your hair natural and really being judged for it before, during, or after work?
I'm sorry, Melina.
It's okay.
I was responding to one of our Twitter followers.
Oh, awesome.
Who actually is Cynthia Jenkins. It says she's an elected official and she feels pressured to wear her hair in a certain way.
Absolutely.
So I was just responding to that because at one point in my career, I ran for and served in elected office, and I certainly felt the pressures of looking a certain way, not just with my hair, but in terms of my dress also. So I can definitely relate to Cynthia. But I would like to take this moment, Melina, this is someone you know, and send a shout out to our California State Senator, Holly Mitchell, who was just recently elected to the California State Assembly. Yes. And Holly Mitchell, formerly an executive or president and CEO of a well-known nonprofit organization here, has worked for a congressional staff member, and she ran for office with her natural hair and still has her natural hair. She would be the first to say that many people said to her, in order to get elected to this seat, well, previously her assembly seat, you have to change your hair, and she didn't. So there certainly are success stories and stories where people have not given into what we believe may be roadblocks to success, and I definitely applaud that. And I think ultimately, as I said in the Essence article, it's an individual decision. And some individuals
You guys, can you hear me?
I can
Yes.
hear you.
This Reddock is frozen, it seems.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. You guys, can you hear me? I can still keep talking.
Go ahead.
Eric, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Melina, can you hear both of us?
We're facing some technical difficulties.
Oh, there she is.
She's
Okay,
to.
I see. Here we go.
We're back.
Okay, we're back and we're live. We're live on Google Hangout. Thank you so much, ladies, for hanging in there and standing by. We were talking about hair, the perception of hair, and intimidation in the workplace. Angela, we were coming to you after listening to Angela Reddock, who is hanging out with us, the workplace guru. What's your take, Angela?
What was your question, Melina?
I'm going to Angela Artis.
Oh, artist. Okay.
Yeah, after hearing what you had to say, Angela Reddock, Angela, I just wanted to see if you had anything else to say before going to Eric.
The one thing that I will say, because I kind of forgot what the complete question was after that, but is that it does go back to confidence, and it does go back to individuality, because I know for myself, I am not completely confident in rocking my giant curls at work, and I never have been. But the things that I do at work, when I'm at work, outside of the creative side of me, it hinders me. You know what I mean? It hinders what I do, and things get caught in it. So I'm always apt to just slick it back, and that's probably why I just wear it slick back more than not. But it is a confidence thing. I don't have that confidence to rock it like that. Only when I'm doing, running around or having my own kind of space and time, then I will do my hair the way I choose to do my hair, and I won't care. It doesn't matter.
Okay, Angela?
So, Angela, great name, by the way.
Thank you.
Says a lot about you. You're a good person.
Thank you.
So are you saying that if you're in a traditional work environment, you don't wear your hair in the more natural style? Is that what you said? But then you feel compromised in your creative world?
It's if I'm in a traditional environment, then I'll wear it more conservative than I would if I am doing the things that I do as a creative entity, because it does hinder me sometimes. When I was working with animals, me wearing big curly hair, I have to carry them, so they're in my hair. They're on my shoulder, so they're getting lost inside of it. I tried it. It didn't really work for me too well. So those kinds of things have always hindered me in the things that I do. Or even with the corporate job, my confidence level back in the 90s was not what my confidence level is now. Now, yeah, I'll wear my hair however I feel like wearing it, because that's me now.
Well, what about Angela? What about, because in this case we're talking about feeling comfortable with your bosses, aside of just the convenience of having the ability to wear your hair the way that you're comfortable with.
Right.
When you have to face your superiors in the workplace and respond to how and what they are giving you, whether it's verbal or nonverbal.
I've never had a problem that I know of with my appearance at all. I haven't had those kinds of issues as of yet. Let's put it that way, as of yet. But I haven't had that problem.
Melina, there's so many directions that this conversation can take. I'm looking at Angela, and I don't know if this is true. We've never met in person, but it looks like you may have what some might consider "quote unquote" good hair. Naturally curly,
and I know Sawana can't.
Like right now, I have some added curly hair to my hair. This is not good hair. You can tell you're good hair. But is that true, Angela?
Yeah, I do.
So, and the reason I ask that, because when we say natural hair, it depending on our grade of hair, that discussion can go, any direction. So I imagine, Angela, even when you were working in the traditional environment and you wore your hair natural, it still wasn't perceived the same way as Melina's great natural hairstyle may be perceived. So, and then right here we have Kimberly. Have you guys seen Kimberly today? She's got a great natural style. Like, Kimberly, did they see? Our producer here today. And it's great, but it's a different texture than Melina's or my hair natural. So it's an interesting discussion in that, depending on the grade and quote unquote quality of our hair, there still may be certain perceptions. So the term natural hair in the workplace is very broad and has so many different levels and factors to it. But I would submit that Angela would still have a different experience than Melina.
So are we talking about are we talking about natural hair in the workplace from? I'm trying to find my words.
Right.
Go ahead. I'm trying. Okay, so bear with me and please do not kill my Twitter. So are we speaking more? I hate to call it extreme, but more ethnic.
Right, so
It's
even
a
finding the
cultural.
terminology
Yeah,
is
I'm
not
trying. I'm
offensive,
trying.
that doesn't make
I don't.
us seem like we hate ourselves.
It's
Yeah, I don't
fine
want to
with
shut
baby hair.
anybody. I don't want to shut anyone. Oh God.
Yeah.
Leave it to me.
I
Leave
think
it to
the
me.
Essence article was attempting to discuss natural hair that is not necessarily, doesn't appear to be blended with hair from other ethnicities. Like even finding the language to have this discussion, right? And not being
Yeah,
hair from the 1800s or something.
Right.
But I think it's thinking of traditional, or what we might consider kinky hair, afro-like hair, hair that represents our African roots. I think that's what the discussion centers upon.
I gotta jump in here.
Yeah,
Because only because
how should we talk about
no, well,
what's the right
I think
non-offensive
what
way
I'm
to have
hearing,
this discussion?
yeah, like what I'm hearing is a few things. And with the workplace / corporate America / progressive / creative workplace accepts varies. We get that. But in this moment between Angela and Angela, I'm hearing the configuration of styles. For example, how Angela artist wears her hair, curly, long, full, beautiful. How I wear my hair in a fro. I don't know how Tiffany's hair is right now or Sawanda's as far as style, but that's the key word, style. Like I could have Bantu knots. I could rock two strand twists and just be crazy, or I could just pull it all back and have an Afro puff. So it's what I'm hearing and what I receive when entering workplaces, media companies and things like that, creative or corporate, is that people do respond, and this is
It does
a
convey.
statement and slash
Does convey
question.
a
People
different.
respond in the workplace. I'm gonna go to you, Eric, after this, to your hairstyle, because you could have a really nice hairstyle with locks or whatever, and be very cultured. There's a lot of beef going on at BET. An executive was fired, and
Are
it
you
was
sure it's BET and not BP?
BP.
BP, excuse me, BP, thank you, where the executive was fired because she was too, between her hair and her attire, it was too cultural, and she should have only wore it during Black History Month and yada, yada, yada. But it was her hairstyle that set people off, in how they responded. So we can wear our hair natural, but does it have to be, the style have to be safe? And what is that? Like, what does that mean? And why do we really have to go through all this as a Black woman in the workplace?
Because I think in a large measure, it does convey that grooming type aspect. Did you prepare yourself for work? Did you just throw together and put together some Afro puffs? Did you just roll out of bed and just go into work? Or did you take the time to straighten yourself, get your makeup together, you dress appropriately and walk into work, projecting a good image for this company? And again, that's the perception of, what, good hair versus any other kind of hair would be.
Right, and on the good hair, Sawanda did, I told y'all that's her eerie word, good hair. So Sawanda said it, she was like, yes, all caps. Natural hair for kinky, all caps. Women hair. Not going to kill you, Angela. Yes,
Please don't.
you're right. More ethnic. And so the whole, good hair, I'm just going to keep it 100, and I can go to Angela Reddock as far as style and the grooming. Eric, you brought up a good point. But it is about, I still think it's about perception, but deeply rooted, I feel like it's a massa mentality of who we answer to, not just the paycheck and not just the work environment, but the deeper issue of just accepting Black people for who we are in our totality, and loving Madam C.J. Walker for inventing the straightening comb. And so the dynamics is we shift the way who we are outside. I don't know about the internal things sometimes.
So that brings up a question that I have for Ms. Reddock, was something that Angie had mentioned. you had talked about what's taking place in the corporate environment, but when I'm reading in a lot of corporate policies, it extends way beyond just your work. Sometimes it's, the style of dress that you have. Women are supposed to wear this, or, no wife beaters, or, you won't say that, but it does address a certain style, as well as, how are you going to conduct yourself outside of work, especially if you're a manager. Your attitude or your mode of conduct. How much does hair also play into that in terms of, a company being able to dictate what you're able to wear or how you're able to act outside of the workplace?
Eric, I'm glad you took the discussion in this direction, because it's exactly where I want it to go. It's not just a discussion of hair, it's about overall appearance. So most grooming policies say no tattoos. So how many of us know all the kids in my family have tattoos now? And I'm like, you're never going to get a job. What are you doing to your body? So how do you all feel about things like tattoos? Just last year, there was a big case in California. A Muslim woman who worked for Disneyland, and she worked in the one of the restaurants at Disneyland, and she wore her traditional garb to work, Muslim garb, and they had her work in the back of the restaurant. And she filed a lawsuit saying I should be able to serve customers and be in the front of the store. And she prevailed under California law that as long as she wore her garb in a way that was presentable, that was clean, that did not offend in any way, that based on that being tied to her religious identity, she was able to wear her garb to work. And we've seen the same discussion when, like you said, Eric, with men and beards. I know in the city of LA, there's been a challenge by some of the traffic officers, the police officers, that traditionally they're supposed to be clean shaven, have very low haircuts. And some of the African American men and other men have challenged that policy, saying, well, you know what, we get razor bumps when we have to shave every day, or black men like their mustaches and their beards, so we should be able to wear it as long as it's groomed well. So I think ultimately it becomes a debate about what's appropriate, what's illegal. It's clear what's illegal and what's legal and what's not legal when it comes to employer policy. That's the easy part. What's more difficult is, does an employer have a right to set certain standards as to how they want their employees to look? And I put the question back to each of you. I know some of you have your own businesses, or if you had your own business, you would probably set some standards as to what employees should look like when they come to work. And those standards may not be tied to any discriminatory bias, but just based on, we do this type of work, we service this type of client, and there's a certain way we want to present ourselves as a company, and that we want employees to present themselves. And I think it's proper for any employer to do that. It's not proper for an employer to cause you to do things that really compromise who you are biologically, or who you are based on your intrinsic beliefs, such as your religion. And so it's finding that perfect balance that keeps people like me employed.
No, and Angela, go ahead.
I agree. I mean, if I had a situation where I was actually hiring people, I would have a standard depending on what it was they were doing. And, I'm pretty liberal. I'm pretty open-minded. It wouldn't be very stringent, but there are some things that I see just walking around life that I know that if I had my own situation where I was hiring people to go out and interact with other people on my behalf, it would have to look a certain way. And I think employers should be able to do that. It's their company. You are representing them. You're not representing yourself at their company. That's not how this works. So if I have standards,
yeah. And then the other point that's in right now, Sawanda is chatting and basically said that I'm paraphrasing. Her whole point is it's not just that she wears her hair kinky. You know, she loves her kinky hair. It's about showing up and doing the work. And so it shifts from the attention should not be on her hair, but the attention is on will she, when she shows up at work, can she, you know, do the job and do it right? And that's what she focuses on, not just her hair, but being able to do the job. Sometimes at Angela Reddock, women show up and before they can show and prove that they're capable of doing the work that they're hired to do, to Eric's point, they may or may not have that opportunity, and or if they do have the opportunity, because their hair is a certain way, it's not, does it? I guess this is the question. Does wearing your hair a certain way prevent you from, let me turn this volume down, you guys, excuse me. Does wearing your hair a certain way prevent you from actually having the ability to get the job done? Do you know? What do you think?
I mean, I'll show my prejudice side. If somebody is serving me food and they have long hair, I think about what's in my food.
I do too. Yay, good one. Right. Yay.
So, I mean, Melina, if you came up to
I'm
me,
very serious about my food.
Melina, if you were coming up to me and serving me food, I'd think twice. Angie, if you came up to me and was serving my food, I wouldn't think twice. But the thing is also, it's like, okay, you just sort of take it to the next stage and say, okay, what does this mean when you're a receptionist versus a waitress? What does it mean when you're a consultant versus a developer? You know, what's going to be the environment in which you want to say, okay, what can you wear and how can you look? I would show, different viewpoints, and just in terms of my interaction with a certain person based upon, that environment.
Yeah, and I think your ability to do the job is one thing, and that's great and wonderful. But like we said at the very beginning, it's all about perception. And like Eric just said, I'm sorry, his perception of the hair. I've been in a restaurant, and I think the exact same thing every time I see it. I have a problem with hair in my food. I have a problem with people in the back not wearing nets, whether I'm going to McDonald's or I'm going to Oceanair. It bothers me. So that would hinder you in a job, but yet and still the employer could say it's fine for her to wear her hair like that.
And on that note, I want to jump in here real quick. Because we got to wrap this up. This conversation is so good, and we can always continue the conversation of, is your hair holding you back in the workplace? This is the great debate, the hair dilemma. And this article is this conversation is stemming from an article written by one of our guests here online today, lawyer, Esquire, lawyer, workplace, Angela Reddock. And you can join this debate, continue to follow this conversation offline on her blog page, which is Your Work Matters, correct? Angela, can you share this information with us, please?
Yes, you can follow me at Twitter at Angela Reddock, or at my blog, your-workmatters.com.
Sweet. And I'm going to circle back to my guest today, joining in online, hanging out with us right here on Google Hangout for Lipstick Radio. We have Angela Artist in the ATAO.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
We have
Atlanta's my second favorite city, by the way. So
oh, wow. Angela, shout out your Twitter, please.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Can you shout out your Twitter?
Angela Artist, Twitter, Angela Artist, and you can also find me at www.angelaartist.com.
Oh, sweet. And hanging out with us in the chat room is Miss Sawanda Middleton Spinks. And you can follow her at, you may not see her face, you guys, but if you're chatting, at Sawanda, Twitter. Born to Blossom, and on Facebook, Sawanda Middleton Spinks. Eric Grizzly, please shout out your Twitter or contact information for our guests.
Sure. You can reach me at eBreeze on Twitter. You can also reach me through my website, booksofsoul.com. I'd love to have everybody weigh in on that site. And you can also reach me at booksofsoul through Twitter as well.
Okay.
Thanks for bringing a male perspective, Eric.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then for Tiffany Chanel Crawford, you can hit her Tiffany Crawford. Follow her on Twitter at Tiffany Crawford. This has been a dynamic conversation, you guys. It never ends. It never stops until we have equality in the workplace, total equality, whatever that looks like. whatever style that is. Stay groomed is what I'm hearing from this conversation. No matter who you are and what you rock in as a natural hairstyle, you have to groom yourself, and those are part of the basics. For the laws and more information, hit up Angela Reddock on her blog, Your Workplace Matters. Thank you for joining us. Follow me at Melina Lawrence on Twitter, at Lipstick Radio as well. Thanks to our girl Kimberly Carlisle. Thank you all for joining us at Essence Debates. Thank you so much to everyone chiming in. And you know what to do. Stay true. Peace.
Thanks, Melina.
You're welcome. Thank you to our guests. You're wonderful.